Fallout has a really unique aesthetic, with many getting the first impression that it's set in the 1950s. At first blush, it does look like a series that's rooted in that booming period after the Second World War when life in America was thriving, innovation was running wild, and everyone was hanging out at diners, wearing leather jackets and driving really cool cars. Now that's not too far from the truth, but really, why does Fallout look like that? Hi, I'm Nukov. Welcome to the Wasteland. Firstly, it's important to stress that Fallout is an alternate universe to our own. There's a separate timeline that splits from our universe after World War II, and that's where things start getting kind of weird. That's a story to dive into for another day, but for now, we're just trying to determine why the franchise of Fallout looks as though it's stuck in the 1950s. The timeline thing just kind of helps us to understand why it doesn't look like our world. There's something of a dark satire about the Fallout universe. The creators lent really heavily into the concepts and the ways of thinking that were prevalent in our own real world during the 1950s. Again, that's in our timeline. The Cold War was looming, communism was seen as a dire threat, nuclear war always seemed imminent, or at least it was a developing concern. Lots of the elements in Fallout's universe mirror what people in our universe thought the future was going to look like, with robots, huge powerful cars, strange gargantuan buildings, and laser guns. In the universal split, Fallout's world missed out on some critical inventions like transistors, which meant that technology stayed old-fashioned and remained clunky and looked as though it was from the 1950s and not the 2000s, which is where most of the inventions that we see in the game series actually surfaced. It's all kind of called retrofuturism. And it's a look and feel that creators just wanted and loved. That's where the inspirations came from. In Fallout, the success of America is driven by the success of atomic power, which came around after the Second World War. Instead of shying away from the devastation and danger of the A-bomb, America lent into the potential of atomic power, creating a thriving nation built off the back of incredible inventions. Of course, that's where the trouble started, but again, that's a conversation for another day. In a way, despite all of its technological leaps, wonderful inventions and wealth, America never really evolved past the 1950s in terms of what everything looked like and how it worked. Everything from clothing to music and from commercials on the television to cars all retained that aesthetic, and eventually it became too late to get past it. Once the 2000s hit, things started going south. Before they knew it, nuclear war was knocking at their door and it was too late to evolve further. The world fell into darkness, and America still had that 1950s theme being prevalent across the nation. And that's why, despite mostly being set in the 2200s, everything in Fallout looks really old-fashioned.